Millions of years ago, when Earth was still a wild and primitive world, something descended from the sky. Not a metaphor, not a myth forgotten in ancient pages, but an event that fundamentally changed the course of intelligent life on this planet. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, the Egyptians called them the Nibiru, the Hindus called them the Deva. The ancient Hebrews knew them by names that official history prefers to silence. But the question that echoes through 5,000 years of civilization remains the same, unsettling, disturbing. Who really created us? And, more importantly, why? Imagine being alive 12,000 years ago in a village on the banks of the still wild Euphrates River. You are a scribe. You observe the sky. And then, on a night you will never forget, you see something that challenges everything your people believe about the heavens, about life, about the very meaning of existence. Lights descend, beings appear. And they are not angels, they are engineers. They are cosmic biologists. They are visitors from a world our ancestors only dreamed of seeing. This is the beginning of an investigation that spans 5,000 years of historical records, unearthed clay tablets, myths preserved by cultures separated by oceans, archaeological accounts that don't fit into conventional narratives, and a truth that official science still refuses to admit. We were not created here. We were engineered. Let's start with the facts that no one disputes. Humanity as we know it today, with our capacity for complex language, abstract reasoning, awareness of ourselves, and the mysteries of the universe, suddenly emerges in the fossil record only 250 years ago. Before that, millions of years of hominids, primates evolving slowly, methodically, according to the rules Darwin described. But then, almost overnight, on an evolutionary scale, literally overnight, something changes dramatically. Approximately 12,000 years ago, in the valleys of Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, a civilization emerges fully formed. The Sumerians did not evolve slowly from nomadic tribes. They appeared with cities, writing systems, sophisticated mathematics, accurate astronomy, knowledge of hydraulic engineering, legislation, and complex hierarchies. It is as if someone had handed them a manual of civilization, and they left records. Clay tablets describing this. The tablet known as Enuma Elish, one of the oldest mythological narratives in the world, is not just poetry. It is a document, an archive. It describes how gods descended from the heavens, specifically from a planet called Nibiru, and found Earth inhabited by primitive creatures. What did they do? They decided to improve the race, to engineer intelligence, create workers who could build cities, grow food, serve their purposes. The Sumerians called these gods Anunnaki, those who came from the sky. And it wasn't just one civilization that knew this story. Egyptians, Greeks, Hindus, Mayans, Aztecs, Australian Aboriginal peoples, each isolated from the others, separated by oceans and mountains, preserved surprisingly similar accounts of beings who came from the stars and taught humanity the secrets of civilization. How is this possible? How can cultures that never had contact describe the same cosmic visit? There are only two possibilities. Either it is a coincidence, a mathematical chance so unlikely that it offends reason, or it happened. It really happened. And it was witnessed by countless ancient peoples, each recording in their own way, in their own language, in their own cultural context, the same extraordinary event, the visit of the engineers. But let's dig deeper. Let's go beyond myth and delve into genetics, biology, science that most universities still treat as heresy. Homo sapiens is genetically anomalous. It is not natural. It is not a pure result of natural selection. Modern genetic studies that began to be published more frequently after the sequencing of the human genome in 2003, reveal something disturbing. Our DNA contains markers that cannot be explained by conventional evolution. We have 97% of DNA identical to that of chimpanzees. But what about the missing 3%? It does not appear in any other primate species. There is no transition. There is no intermediate species that shows how we evolved from that missing 3%. It's as if someone had edited our genetic code, someone extremely skilled, someone who understood biology at a level that we are only now beginning to master through CRISPR technology and advanced genetic engineering. Sumerologists like Zecharia Sitchin, a researcher who dedicated his life to translating and interpreting Sumerian tablets, argue that this is exactly what happened. According to ancient records, the Anunnaki conducted a biological experiment. They took the primitive hominid population on Earth, creatures already here but not intelligent, and combined their own DNA with that of these primitive beings, creating Homo sapiens, a hybrid, a servant genetically engineered to work and serve. The Sumerians had a word for this, Lulu, meaning one who has been mixed. We are the Lulu. Now consider this. The ancient texts describe in remarkable detail the process of human creation. They speak of goddesses who acted as surrogate mothers of specific biological processes, of attempts and failures before creating a perfect form. If these texts were purely mythology, pure invention of the primitive human imagination, how would we explain the accuracy of these details? How can we explain that children today, who have never studied genetics, never seen a biotechnology laboratory, would create narratives that so precisely parallel what molecular biology reveals about genetic engineering? The simplest answer is the most frightening, because it was not invention, it was memory. Memory passed down through generations of a truth that our ancient civilizations witnessed. Why create beings like us? What was the purpose? Here, the Sumerian records become even more specific. The Anunnaki did not come to Earth for our sake. They came for gold. Yes, gold. This is not a story of ordinary greed. It is something much more cosmic, much more devastating to our view of ourselves. The Sumerian texts describe that Nibiru, the planet from which the Anunnaki came, was suffering from atmospheric deterioration. Its atmosphere was dissipating into space, and the solution: gold dust. Gold particles suspended in the atmosphere could reflect solar radiation and preserve the planet's atmospheric layer. So the Anunnaki came to Earth, a planet abundant in gold, with a mission of large-scale mining. But there was a problem. The work was brutal, exhausting, deadly. No intelligent sentient creature would willingly spend eternity in mines under the heat, extracting gold for beings who were not their gods, but their masters. So they created something that would... They created you and me. They created beings with enough intelligence to follow complex instructions, but not enough to question them. Beings with the ability to reproduce so that the workforce would regenerate naturally. Beings with rudimentary consciousness, with the capacity to suffer, because suffering is the best motivator for hard work. According to these ancient records, we are a successful biological experiment. We are a product, a design, an engineered solution to a cosmic resource problem. Think about it. Think about what changes in you, in your perspective, in your relationship with existence, if you know that every breath you take, every thought you think, every tear that runs down your face, every love you feel, everything has been calculated, everything has been planned. You are not the result of cosmic chance. You are an engineered product. Your abilities, your limitations, your suffering, your joy, everything has a design signature, a purpose that is not yours, but that of creators who never consented to our knowledge of their existence. How does that make you feel? This is where the story becomes even more unsettling, because there aren't just ancient records and genetic analyses. There are artifacts, there are structures, there are archaeological phenomena that conventional science cannot adequately explain. Consider Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, an archaeological site that has rewritten our understanding of when civilization began. Here, 11,500 years ago, thousands of years before the Egyptians, before the Sumerians, before any known civilization, nomadic peoples and hunter-gatherers erected temples, massive stone structures precisely aligned, requiring coordination, planning, and advanced architectural knowledge. How? How did a population of hunter-gatherers with no cities, no centralized hierarchies, no writing, build temples that rival in sophistication structures built much later? Who taught them? Who provided the inspiration? Or consider the Great Pyramid of Giza, built with limestone blocks weighing an average of 2.5 tons each, some weighing as much as 80 tons, aligned with an astronomical precision that defies the era in which it was supposedly built. Its angle is 51 degrees and 51 minutes, the same angle that defines the latitude of Giza on the Earth's coordinate map, as if someone were marking a point on the planet. Did the ancient Egyptians have the technology for this? Maybe, probably not. But their records say that the pyramid was not built by humans. The pyramid texts, some of the oldest religious texts we have, speak of gods who descended and built these monuments, who offered knowledge, and there's more. In the Amazon rainforest, geophysicists have discovered over the past 20 years massive geometries visible only from the air, squares, circles, straight lines covering miles created by removing vegetation. Who created them? For what purpose? And how would people without airplanes, without satellites, without a way to see from above, know how to create shapes that only make sense when viewed from the sky? Except, of course, if they were created by beings who could fly. There is a pattern here, a pattern that museums, academia, and universities seem reluctant to connect, because connecting it requires questioning the entire narrative we have constructed about the history of humanity. It requires admitting that not everything we know is correct. It requires intellectual humility, something powerful institutions rarely possess. But why the silence? Why, if there is so much evidence, is this truth not taught in schools? Why are scientists and archaeologists who suggest these possibilities ridiculed, pushed out of their fields, exiled from academic discourse? Because the truth is disturbing, and the power structures prefer a world where the truth is comfortable, where we are the heroes of our own story, where we rise through our own ingenuity, where we have no cosmic masters watching us, who created us, who may return. Zecharia Sitchin spent 40 years studying ancient traditions, learning ancient languages, collecting evidence. He was ridiculed, called a pseudoscientist. His books were criticized by archaeologists who often never read them completely. Why? Because his research led to conclusions that challenged the accepted paradigm. The same thing happened to Graham Hancock, one of the world's most respected journalists, who began researching archaeological anomalies and ended up arguing that there was an advanced global civilization 12,000 years ago, a civilization that was almost completely erased from history by a series of cataclysmic catastrophes. His works were attacked not for lack of evidence, but because they questioned. Erich von Däniken wrote Chariots of the Gods in 1968, arguing that extraterrestrials visited Earth in ancient times. The book sold millions of copies, but it was almost universally condemned by academia as fantasy, science fiction disguised as nonfiction. However, since 2008, government space agencies such as NASA have invested billions in the search for extraterrestrial life. Suddenly, the idea that we are visited by beings from other worlds is no longer pseudoscience, but legitimate research. The difference? Only that now extraterrestrial beings are conjectural and future, not past and present. There is a conspiracy here. Not the classic conspiracy of secret men in dark rooms. It is something deeper. It is a conspiracy of convenience, of institutional inertia, of fear. fear of what would change if we knew the truth. But here's what keeps cosmonauts, astronomers, ufologists, and researchers awake at night. The Anunnaki, according to Sumerian texts, did not disappear permanently. They left, it is true. Their mining missions on Earth were completed. But the texts speak of a return, of a cycle, of a planet Nibiru that orbits our sun in an extremely elliptical orbit, returning to Earth's reach every 600 years. 600 years. Think about it. The last great civilization that unequivocally recorded visits from celestial beings was the Egyptian civilization, approximately 600 years ago. Before that, the Sumerians. Before that, ancient cultures across the Earth documented extraordinary cosmic events. 600 years. The cycle continues. So what is the terrible implication? If the cycle is real, if Nibiru exists, if the Anunnaki survive, then they will return, maybe not in our lifetimes, maybe in 200 years or 1,000, but they will return. And when they do, where will we stand? Will we still be servants? Will our value still be measured in our usefulness as workers? Or will we have evolved enough to demand answers, to demand rights, to rise up against our creators? There is a prophetic war written about in ancient texts, a war between the Anunnaki, different factions with different goals. Some wanted to exploit Earth, others wanted to preserve it. Some saw humanity as a tool, others as a legitimate creation deserving of compassion. And it is recorded, again in the pyramid texts, in the Sumerian epics, in the Hindu texts describing celestial wars, that these factions fought. They used weapons that ancient texts describe as sticky water in the sky, thunder that kills from afar, flames that cannot be extinguished, descriptions that, read by a modern ear, sound surprisingly like descriptions of bombs, of nuclear weapons. Sumeria, Finland, is a place where archaeologists have found a radiation anomaly. Mohenjo-daro, India, shows evidence of extreme heat, so extreme that stone turned to glass. Zecharia Sitchin's chronicles describe a cosmic war that swept across Earth thousands of years ago. And suddenly, these fragments of evidence, fragments that our official history ignores or explains through natural processes, form a coherent picture. There was war. There was cosmic conflict on Earth. Our ancestors witnessed it all, and they recorded it. But let me tell you the most important part, the part that isn't disturbing, it's transformative. If all of this is true, then we are more than we thought we were. We are the children of cosmic engineers. Our DNA contains the signature of creators who mastered technology and biology at a level we can only dream of achieving. This means that there is a potential within us, a latent capacity that we have not yet fully awakened. Ancient texts speak of ascension, of human beings who awakened this divine heritage. Enoch in the Hebrew texts, Krishna in the Hindu texts, Quetzalcoatl in the Mayan texts. Men and women who rose above the common condition and accessed abilities that transcended ordinary humans. Were they extraterrestrials, hybrids with power accessed through occult knowledge? Or were they just humans who discovered and activated what had always been their birthright? According to some interpretations of ancient texts, humanity was genetically programmed with a limiter, a block, something that prevents us from accessing the full potential of our genetic code. But this block can be removed through knowledge, through understanding who we really are, through awakening. Some texts speak of a DNA activation, a transformation that occurs when a human being reaches a certain level of consciousness, understanding, spirituality. It is as if we have a second level of intelligence, psychic abilities, intuitive understanding of the universe. But to access it, we must first accept the truth about our own emergence. Perhaps that is why there is such a deafening silence about these truths. Perhaps it is no coincidence that institutions of power do not want us to know. Because when we discover that our DNA contains the code of the gods, when we understand that we are biologically capable of transcending, of evolving, of becoming what our creators are, then suddenly no one can control us. No one can tell us that we are lesser, inferior servants. We will become aware of our true power. So who really created us? The answer is more complex than we want it to be. It wasn't God, at least not in the sense that traditional religions describe. Or maybe it was, and God simply had a different name, a different form, came from a different place than we imagined. The Anunnaki were engineers. They were biologists. They were cosmic explorers in search of resources. They weren't evil. They just had been created to serve purposes that weren't ours. Perhaps they were servants too, just as we were created to serve them. What changes if we accept this? Everything and nothing. Everything changes because our narrative about ourselves is reversed. We are not the result of chance. We are legitimate. We were designed. There is intention in our existence, even if that intention was initially exploratory, not compassionate. Knowing this, you will never see your life the same way again. You will never look at the sky the same way again. You will never question the meaning of existence the same way again. But nothing changes because, regardless of who created us, we are still here. We still breathe. We still love. We still suffer. We still seek. We still create. We still have the freedom to choose who we want to be, not who we were created to be. The truth is that humanity is at a crossroads. We have the technology to destroy ourselves. We have the ability to change our own DNA, soon perhaps to access the latent powers our creators left us. We have the choice to accept the narrative of servitude or to awaken. The coming years will be crucial. Because a shift is happening, more people are asking questions, more scientists are challenging the paradigm. The truth is leaking from the margins to the center. And when it finally bursts to the surface, when humanity awakens to the truth of its own creation, it will change everything. The return may be near. And when it does, will we be as we were? Or will we have evolved? Will we have awakened to our true potential? The choice, my friends, has always been ours. History created us to serve. But history is not over. We still write the final pages. Sign up to follow more in-depth investigations into the hidden mysteries of humanity, because there are revelations you haven't heard yet.